Yo, what's going on YouTube? I'm Sue, and you may remember a couple of months back, I tried out an upcoming gacha game called Etheria Restart during its closed beta test. After my time with the beta, I made a review video talking about how I felt about it. And there was a lot of things I really liked about Etheria Restart, things that I wish its competitors would actually do. But it was also missing a lot of things that I think would make it truly special amongst other gacha games, stuff that I wanted to see improved in the final release of the game. You need to only go back and look at the comment section though from my review to find out that people were not happy with what I had to say in that video. I took a lot of flack for it. So my thought was, you know what? I'm done with Etheria Restart. I'm not going to touch it, right? To my surprise though, Etheria Restart themselves reached out to me to ask me if I would give the game another shot, and they also wanted feedback on how they could make the game the best version of themselves. And that really stood out to me because usually developers do not listen to content creators or players unless it's like some kind of riot. They usually don't take this kind of feedback. They're usually very behind closed doors. They're going to make whatever decisions they want. And it's only after like public outcry that things actually change, right? You have to like basically cause a riot to get anything to change. The fact that they're willingly just acting like people, asking, okay, you don't like the game, what can we do to make it better? That's a very rare thing to see in developers nowadays. So if the devs are actually going to take feedback from content creators and players and try to make the game the best version of itself ahead of the beta, and especially ahead of the official launch, which is going to be next month, sign me up. I'll give the game another shot. So for the last month or so, I've been playing on an early access server to kind of get a feel for these changes firsthand. And my hope in this video is to show you some of the stuff that I have found and talk about what still needs to be actually improved upon in order to make this game the best version of itself. If the devs are committed to the vision of making Etheria Restart a great game, a great PvP experience that everybody can jump into, then I'm here for it. So let's talk about what is different between now and the January closed beta test. So first up, the event page. Event page is got a different look overall to it. There's also a couple of new events like this candy party event here, right? These are essentially like your web banners, your weekly events, your side stories, whatever you want to call them. These are all here in the game, and there's a couple more of them. But also during this time, we now finally get to see the cash shop, right? You can see here, there are these kind of packs that you can buy. There's costumes, things like that. You can see there's a monthly supply card here. This is very standard for most gacha games. It's usually about $5. As you can see, it costs 5 gold tickets in order to actually buy this. Now, if you look at the Festive Rewards tab here, you can see for every $1 or 1 Hydro voucher spent, you get one of these points. This is essentially like a rebate for spending money at the launch period. So if that's something you're into, if you're a spender, you're a whale, this is going to be good news for you. But it basically tells us one of these yellow vouchers is worth roughly about $1. So when you take a look at like the actual shop here, you kind of get an idea of what you're actually getting here. So like $16 for 2 multis for this pack, $1 for a multi for this pack, $50 for a guaranteed SSR to get you started. And when you take a look at the actual gems in the shop itself, the value's pretty good. You're getting roughly 1.5 to 2 times the amount of summons for the money you put in compared to many other competitors that I have played in the space. So that's already a very good sign, on top of the fact that your weapon banners, they don't exist. Those are farmable in this game. There is no 50-50. The pity is the same or lower than most other games that I've played. That's already a very good sign. It says to me that the game is a bit more free-to-play friendly, a bit kinder on your wallet than other gacha games. And that's something that's very, very important to me, because at some point in the last like 5 years, I feel like gacha has kind of gotten away from that. It's been very much banners cost $300 to $500 to get characters. You have to pray you don't lose a 50-50. And if you get the character, then maybe you need to roll for a specific artifact or weapon or W engine, light cone, whatever you want to call it. Otherwise, they don't actually function as a character. So that is all a very good sign for me. Something I was very happy to see here on the actual server. So now let's take a look at some of the other stuff that is different here. Some of it minor, some of it major. First up, Hyperlink Charter. The icons are different here for some of these things. I believe Animus of Fate and Shell Tuning might be slightly different than you might be used to seeing them if you played the closed beta test. But all of these menus now feature live 2D art. I believe it was static in the previous closed beta. So they are slowly starting to make some UI adjustments. You need to only look at the Animus screen here where you have your heroes. And you can see it definitely looks similar, but it is different. Distinctively different than where it was just a few months ago. Next up, you have summons. These are going to be your 2 limited summons, Freya and Messiah for the closed beta, or open beta, I should say, that is later on this week as I'm recording this video. The permanent summon icon is a bit different. And also the summon animations are also different. Before you would only see the little color there, but now there's a little electric surge that was not there in the previous beta. So they recognize that some people, myself included, were not big fans of the summon animations in this game. They were a little bit lackluster. They've been kind of trying to spruce it up a little bit. So it is a little different than you're probably used to seeing, but it is still largely the same. So let's see, what else do we have here? Challenge menu. Some of these icons may look different. They also have started introducing these 2x drop events. So that should be super good if you're somebody that really likes to grind in this game. And even things like Threshold, this is essentially where you go to farm gear. These icons may look different to you. And they also have a little instruction thing here in the top right where it says Terrabaton. You can see this thing deals 200% extra damage to odd type animuses, and it's color coded now to be blue to let you know, hey, don't play blue units for this. And it kind of gives you an idea of how you're actually supposed to clear this thing. So this text was here, I believe, before in the closed beta, but now it's a bit more obvious because it's color coded to make it very apparent what you're supposed to be doing here on these stages. Because one of the things I was worried about is that if you're not a veteran of this type of gear grinder gacha, you might have some difficulty. So that they've at least gone out of their way to make it so it's a little bit more user-friendly in terms of readability. Also, you can see now the teams that people have been using. This was here previously, but just want to point out, yeah, I got the free-to-play team on deck for Inferno on Terrabaton. I've been trying really hard during my last month or so playing the game to try to come up with 4-star only clears for a lot of content, so that way I can make some farming guides for you all here on the channel. So hopefully you'll look forward to that. But overall, color-coded on this stuff is pretty good. Icons look pretty good. There's also a couple of new changes here, new game modes. Ember, by the way, this is like the challenging PvE content. This has been renamed to Ember Trek. Not much of a difference there, but something to point out. We have a new game mode now in Ethernet Rally. So this is kind of like a expansive adventure map where you take various teams to try to clear this different content to get rewards. And eventually you're going to want to go around, kill all the bosses, and it'll eventually unlock all of 3 gates. And once you clear all these like mini bosses here in the center, you'll be able to fight Lindau here in the center for big rewards. So excited for that. More new PvE content is here. Cyber Shadows. This was previously in the closed beta, but I believe it was just called Meme Battle. Now it has a different name in Cyber Shadows. There's also a new game mode here in Cubic Game. This was not here in the closed beta. So essentially how this game works is you'll be presented with a puzzle board, and you can see there's stars underneath each of these portraits. You'll select one of these 3 cards, like for example this horizontal boost. You'll place it somewhere on the map, and it will, if it overlaps with these characters, it will increase the rewards. And you get, as you can see, round 1 of 3, I get 3 hands of these, place it, right? Then I could do like this adjacent one, and that'll boost up the rewards here. And once you place all 3, you go around and you defeat each of the characters. As you can see, because I have a high enough star level, this one will give summons, this one will give gems. So it's kind of like a little bit of a mini puzzle where if you lay out the board correctly, you'll get more rewards. And if you just don't like it, you don't like how things have kind of progressed, you do have the ability to reset the thing. Then we have Infinity Train as a new game mode. I think this is one that is really sick. So how it works during the period, you can see available animuses. You're only allowed to clear this challenging content with blue, light, and dark characters, as well as Leanne and Freya, because these are characters that most new players will have access to help get you started. But still very cool to see that the game is going to force you to have to develop different characters instead of just hard focusing only on ones you might play for PvP later on. Very excited to see more PvE content, especially if it's difficult. And then this one, I think this last game mode is pretty cool. It's called Champion's Call. It essentially allows you to place your bet on which team you think is going to be here. You basically get to spectate on one of these PvP fights, and if you guess right, hey, you get some summon currency back. I think that's a pretty cool addition to the game. I think that's pretty cool to be able to actually kind of bet on what you think are going to be the winner or the outcome of that kind of match. Moving on to Arena. I believe regular Arena has been renamed to Etheria. I'm not sure if it's still the same as it used to be, but hey, this is here. It's still the same. Summit Arena, still exactly the same as you remember it from the closed beta. But Fearless Arena is this new 8-person tournament, like on-demand 8-person tournament that can fire. And if you win, you get some points. And as they talked about in the dev live stream from last week, there will be a shop where the currency you win from playing Fearless Arena can be converted to buy different things to help upgrade your account or so on and so forth. So that is very good to see. So there's just basically a whole extra PvP game mode. I come from games where there's only 2. There's just Arena and then Summit Arena, and that's it. So having a third one, I am all here for it. Let's see, what else has changed? Achievement page, this screen is, I believe, different, but otherwise it's still roughly the same that you come to expect. Battle Pass, this was not here in the closed beta. It's very akin to other games that you've seen. As you can see, there's a basic pass, goes all the way up to level 50, and you have a premium one down here. So if you spend money, you get a little bit more rewards. And then you can see here are your quests that actually get you Battle Pass XP. Very nice and compact here in this little window. So perhaps the other thing that is very different now are the characters themselves that are actually here in the game. As I talked about, this menu is a bit different, but also certain characters in the closed beta previously, those characters have been nerfed, which is something I actually am pretty excited about. In a PvP based gacha game, I am very open when a character is clearly overtuned to have them kind of nerf slightly to bring them more in line. Like, I don't want to see like an old school Blizzard sledgehammer nerf. It just ruins the character. Nobody wants that. But it is nice to see that they are aware that they can nerf characters if they are too overtuned and bring them more in line. Hellkid has been nerfed, for example, from the previous closed beta test. Veronica, who is a character I used a lot before this, they brought her more in line. They kind of made this skill here, Soul Bloom, not quite as devastating as it used to be. It used to be removes HP equal to 20%. Now it's 13%. So to see them actually scale back characters if they're too strong without completely ruining the character's identity, I think that is an absolute W, right? So other than that, they've introduced a couple of new characters, and I do want to talk about them here in this video for a little bit with the rest of the time that I actually have here. So first up, we have Real Mocha. So this character is kind of like an AoE slash single target DPS. Like, so this S3 is a single target nuke, and if it kills a target, it does bonus splash damage to everybody. For those of you guys who come from Epic 7 from my channel, this character is basically Sez. It's very similar to Sez with a lot of like different changes here that I'm okay with, right? Scales off of your opponent's missing HP, but also has a speed down and a little mini passive to help reduce her skill cooldowns. I expect her to be decently strong at the start of the game's life, but like with Sez, and for those of you guys who come from Epic 7, you guys know that the tanks, the supports, those are the characters that have long-lasting value on your account because DPS are very flavor of the month. There's always going to be like 1 or 2 DPS on top, and when a new, stronger DPS comes out, they're going to replace them. So I'm not quite sure how Real Mocha is going to pan out long-term, but from what I've tested here, seems like a pretty good character. Next up, we have Tsukiyomi. I think this is a very good character, and when I do my selective summon tier list, this might be one of the ones that I actually recommend for people to try out. Granted, I haven't had a ton of time with her because she's only been out a couple of days since I'm recording this video. So she is a defense scaler on her basic attack skill, and then she gives turn meter, combat readiness, strike prep, whatever you want to call it, your game's equivalent. She gives 25% of that on her basic attack skill. Her skill 2 is an AoE silence that also reduces all skill cooldowns on everyone on your team. Has a very powerful effect in these types of games. And then her skill 3 gives a 100% turn meter to an ally of your choice and 35% to herself, along with an attack and speed buff to your entire team. So she's very tanky, is a bruiser that does some good damage, and has a lot of team utility. Anytime you have a character that could function as kind of like a off DPS and a support, or potentially like a tank and a support, those are very, very powerful games for characters in this style of game. Next, we have Freya. This is the limited character that will be available at launch, as well as the actual beta that should be available this week as of the recording of this video. I think this character is very strong, and I would recommend that everybody actually roll for her. There's a reason she's going to be the first character. She's limited, so you don't want to miss out on her. But the kit is just very, very strong. So the basic attack gives Dreamweave on an ally at random, and then Nightmare on an enemy that you attack. So Dreamweave essentially preemptively cleanses debuff. So if you have Dreamweave, you get debuffed, it pops the Dreamweave to actually cleanse it. Nightmare is a damage amp that also gives the person attacking the person with Nightmare built-in lifesteal. So she has sustain and damage amp and built-in cleansing. Her skill 2 gives more cleansing and a defense buff. And then her skill 3 gives an attack buff to all allies, is an AoE damage attack. Nightmare is all the enemies, and that's obviously going to trade into more damage, more sustain. So for a supporter, she basically does everything you could want. Sustain, buffs, increased damage, cleansing. There's pretty much nothing she doesn't do. Also, she's the third fastest character in the game. And in case you've never played a PvP gacha before, speed is usually the strongest stat in the game. So for a character to be top 3 in what is arguably the most important stat in these types of games and literally does everything, I think Freya is a character that you're probably not going to want to miss. You're going to probably want to be using her for a very long time coming. Next up, we have Rosa. This is my favorite character that I've been playing over the last week or two since she was added to this early access server. And that is largely because she's voiced by my GOAT, Tanaka Rie. You may know her if you play Hoyoverse games as like Himeko or Lisa from Genshin Impact. This girl, I love this voice actress. This character is very cool to me. And is very reminiscent of super overpowered characters I've played with in other games. So the core mechanic for this character is this basic attack skill here, Insane Crash. When it hits somebody, it has it does 3 hits, and each of those 3 hits, if they crit, has a 50% chance to push her turn marker back by 10%. So whenever she hits you with her basic attack, there is a 0, you can go between 0 and 30% turn marker reduction. Now, her passive says anytime she hits anybody, she marks them with Bladeheart Bloom, which means they take 15% extra damage from basic attacks. And whenever somebody crits somebody that has Bladeheart Bloom, she will follow up with Insane Crash. So she basically has a built-in fall attack / dual attack, whatever terminology you want to use, on any attack that crits on your team as long as she has marked them. And of course, her S3 is an AoE slow. So just use Grand Hunt. It'll essentially slow everybody on the enemy team. And then anytime your team crits, as long as she's marked them, she could just tag in against bosses. If they're marked, every attack can just result in a dual attack here. Just keep pushing them back. It does really good damage. I think this character is super, super fun. Again, though, she is a damage dealer. So as I said before, damage dealers usually don't scale super well. Like Rosa might be good at launch, but 6 months to a year, unless there's buffs in the works, maybe not. So is as hot as she is, as cool as she is, this is one of those characters where maybe you don't pick it up right at the start, but definitely a really awesome addition. She is one of the coolest looking characters I think they've added to the game. I really love the coat. One of my big complaints with the game is I didn't like the character designs for some stuff. I really like Tsukiyomi with the bee motif, right? Rosa has a cool design. Freya has a cool design. Right, a lot of these newer characters, especially Born, who we'll talk about in a second, pretty cool design, so I'm happy to see that. After Rosa, we have Mia. I actually really like this character. So this character has a lot of things going for her as a support. So basic attack skill gives a shield to the person on your team that has the lowest HP. And as you can see here, she has a mini passive. For every 1 buff that she has, right, on your entire team, she gains damage reduction up to 40%. So she is a very tanky support. S2 is an AoE strip. It gets rid of their buffs. That is a very rare thing that I've noticed in Etheria Restart. Aside from like Heinrich, right? This guy here, who happens to be sadly a 5-star Dark, right? He's a very rare character. Not everyone's gonna have access to him. This character having a buff strip is very, very good. Buff strips seem to be at a premium. Immunity as a status is very strong here in this game from what I have played. So I am very, very, very big on any character that has a Dispel. So I'm very happy about that. It also comes with a turn meter pushback for the enemy team. And then her S3 just does basically everything you could want to support. It doesn't heal a ton, but it does have some healing. It reduces ally skill cooldowns, and it also cleanses debuffs. Right? It just seems very, very good to me. Like, this character seems like a solid character, a solid support to me. Only problem I can foresee with her, reasons why you might not want to pick her up in the beta, is after 7 days in the beta or the official release, you'll get Ling Luo, who's pretty much like your all-in-one cleanser slash healer that you'll be using a lot. But otherwise, seems like a pretty good character. And then the last new 5-star here is Born. I think that's how you pronounce it. Born. I'm going to just go with Born. So this character has a passive that I think is just absolutely ridiculous. So what he says is at the start of battle, he increases his max health by 500% based on his attack score, but he can't actually land crits, right? So just stack attack on him and he becomes absurdly tanky. He doesn't need any crit chance, no crit damage, none of that. Super easy to build, super tanky, super big damage, has built-in lifesteal on his basic attack. So he's got sustain, and then he's got a pretty powerful AoE attack here, right, as his actual ultimate. So seems like a pretty good character. Normally I don't advocate for damage dealers at the start, but considering how easy this guy is going to be to build, I think that he's one to actually keep an eye on. I'll get more testing with him done over the coming days before I actually finalize my selector for the beta. There's also, by the way, after the 5 stars, 2 new 4 stars. One is Rin the Unbowed. This is for my Epic 7 players. This is like Assassin Sid. It's a character that's very fast and deals damage based on the differential between her speed and her target speed, which, if not handled correctly, could be very problematic for the state of PvP, but we'll see. Essentially, all of her moves just do bonus damage if she's faster than the target, and they, of course, have built-in slows, things like that, or they speed her and her allies up, right? So overall, seems like she could be a very powerful character. I haven't gotten any, chances to play much PvP yet, but this is one of those characters where I think if you roll a lot of speed gear on your account, this is definitely a character you're going to want to have in your back pocket as like a speed contester or just some kind of way to wreck a very fast, squishy character if you think that you can actually get turn 1 with your speed gear with this character. And then the last character that was added here in the early access that'll be in the beta is Marvel. So this character is like a debuffer that's decently fast. He's not like the fastest character, but he's decently fast. So his basic attack skill steals turn meter from a target, so it pushes them back, pushes Marvel forward. S2 here, right, is a single target silence that also randomly silences one other enemy. And then his skill 3 here, it's an AoE attack that pushes back the enemy, reduces their speed and resistance. So he's kind of like a setup character. He goes potentially first, uses his AoE, slows everybody down, sets them up for more debuffs. Use your S1 and S2 liberally to kind of lock down key targets or prevent them from having a turn. Seems like a very interesting control character to try out for PvP. But again, I haven't really gotten much PvP done here on the early access server. It's largely been a lot of PvE content to, again, try to make guides ahead of the actual game's release. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Promising new characters being added, small tweaks to the UI that I'm pretty happy with. Shop I'm just pretty happy with. New PvE game modes, happy with. Overall, the game seems like it is moving further into the right direction. So I'm going to keep staying with the game, right, until it gives me a reason to actually not want to stick with the game. So hopefully you'll try out Etheria Restart. I know I will be this Thursday, right? I'll be going live when the actual beta is up. So if you guys want to catch me, if you're already here on YouTube, make sure to get subscribed. Just check the live tab on Thursday. I'll probably be live for this game. Probably will end up starting with Tiamat again this time around, because now that I've tried a bunch of different characters to start with, I still think Tiamat is like my favorite, so I think I'm just going to end up going with her. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Etheria Restart? Let me know anything about the game, any questions, comments you have down in that comment section below. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later now.